Hey everyone, welcome back. I am absolutely pumped for today's explainer because we're diving into something I know so many of you are thinking about: building a successful e-commerce business. Now, if you've ever tried looking this up, you already know the internet is just flooded with super vague, unhelpful advice. But today, we're cutting through all that noise. We are distilling insights from a massive masterclass into a proven, highly structured blueprint. We're going to take you all the way from absolute beginner concepts straight through to long-term success strategies broken down into 5 incredibly actionable phases. Look, right out of the gate, we've got to address the elephant in the room. I hear this exact fear all the time. Isn't the market totally saturated? Like, did I miss the boat on this? The reality, it is absolutely not too late. Now, is the landscape more competitive today than it was 5 years ago? Well, yeah, of course. It takes real work to get it right. But if you follow a clear blueprint, building an e-commerce business can literally change your life and create an entirely new, powerful stream of income for you. So here's our exact roadmap for today. We're walking through a 5-phase journey. First, grasping the massive e-commerce opportunity. Then designing your niche product, crafting your brand story, nailing your pre-launch marketing strategies, and finally, winning with customer service. All right, let's jump right into phase 1, the massive e-commerce opportunity. You know, there's this weird, persistent myth floating around that direct-to-consumer businesses are dead. People think the giant retail monopolies have just swallowed up all the market share, leaving nothing for the little guy. But the source material we're looking at today completely shatters that idea. What's actually happening is that manufacturers and brands are waking up. They're realizing, wait, we don't even need these traditional retail middlemen anymore. They can bypass them entirely, keep their profit margins high, and totally own the relationship with their audience. And the trajectory from 2015 to 2023 is just wild. The year-over-year growth isn't just steady, it is accelerating. It's climbing higher and higher. The opportunity is genuinely bigger right now than it was half a decade ago. We are in the middle of a massive, permanent shift in how people shop, and there will always be more consumers buying online than there are creators selling to them. To put that sheer scale into perspective, global e-commerce sales were projected to hit an unbelievable $6.5 trillion back in 2021. Trillion, with a T. I mean, even massive, old-school restaurant chains are pouring millions into their digital footprints right now. If they're doing it, you better believe the traditional retail space is expanding online tenfold. The pie we're talking about is just enormous, and there's absolutely room for a dedicated entrepreneur to carve out a highly profitable slice. Okay, moving right along to phase 2, designing your niche product. This right here is where the rubber really meets the road. And honestly, it's also where so many aspiring sellers make a fatal error. They try to make a product for absolutely everyone on Earth. But think about it. If you make a super general product that appeals to everyone, it usually only appeals to them just a little bit. It's definitely not enough to get them over the hurdle of actually pulling out their credit card. Now, contrast that with a niche product. Our source uses this fantastic example: rose gold-rimmed plastic cups, or a journal filled with highly specific daily prompts. Those products appeal incredibly powerfully to a very specific type of person. I know, narrowing your target audience can feel totally counterintuitive when you want to make a lot of sales, but it dramatically skyrockets your conversion rate. Plus, it makes your marketing budget wildly efficient because you know exactly who you're talking to. So how do we actually do this? Well, the good news is you don't need to reinvent the wheel to be successful here. You really just need to change one key differentiating factor. It's a simple 3-step process. Step 1, go read the reviews of existing products in your niche. Step 2, look for the common pain points. What are people constantly complaining about in those 1-star and 2-star reviews? And step 3, just implement the solution. Maybe you tweak the dimensions, adjust the price, bundle it differently, or even just change the color. When you solve a real existing problem, you're creating instant value and immediately distancing yourself from the pack. Which brings us to phase 3, crafting your brand story. Okay, so you've got your killer differentiated product, but a truly successful business doesn't just shove an item into a cardboard box and ship it off. It elevates that simple product into a fully fleshed out brand identity. Because at the end of the day, storytelling is what creates an authentic relationship with the buyer. When you market using emotion and narrative, you're connecting on a totally different wavelength. You literally turn everyday customers into active participants in your brand's journey. Our source points to Patagonia as the absolute gold standard for this. When somebody wears a Patagonia jacket, they genuinely feel like they are part of the brand's larger mission and environmental story.
Now, sure, building that kind of narrative is hard work at the beginning, but it acts like pure equity in your company. The stronger your story, the more people naturally want to share it. That word of mouth marketing pays massive dividends down the road and builds the kind of loyal foundation that keeps the company thriving for decades.
All right, let's pivot to phase 4, pre-launch and marketing strategies. Now that you have a product and a compelling story, you need eyeballs. Visibility is the absolute lifeblood of your venture. Listen, you could have the single greatest product ever invented in human history, but if nobody knows it exists, your business is going to fail, plain and simple. To really drive this home, our source shares this brilliant, slightly painful cautionary tale about their very first clothing business, a brand called Charge Athletics. They spent endless hours agonizing over the designs, getting everything manufactured, building out the whole brand aesthetic, but they completely neglected the marketing. They were super stingy with their ad spend, running these tiny $20 campaigns and then just giving up when they didn't go viral. The result? Despite having a genuinely great product, they got exactly 0 sales on launch day. Crickets. It's a harsh reminder that marketing has to be your #1 priority, with the product acting as a very, very close second. So, how do we avoid the tragic fate of Charge Athletics? By completely flipping the traditional script. The old way of doing business was making a product and then desperately trying to find people to buy it. The new, successful way? Step 1, build your audience first. Start a newsletter, grow a targeted social media account, or build a personal brand. Step 2, conceptualize your product based directly on what that specific audience is telling you they want. Step 3, launch. Because you already have this captive audience whose interests perfectly align with what you built, you essentially guarantee sales on day 1. It's a total game changer. And finally, that leads us to phase 5, winning with customer service. You've launched, you're getting sales, the engine is running. But e-commerce is a marathon, not a sprint. And you have to play the long game with the people who actually open their wallets for you. This concept is perfectly illustrated by Zappos. Check this out. A jaw-dropping 75% of their purchases come from returning customers. Only 25% are new. On top of that, 44% of all their customers heard about them purely through word of mouth. This just proves the sheer financial power of retention. It is so much more profitable to keep a happy customer coming back than it is to constantly burn through marketing dollars trying to acquire a new one. So how did Zappos pull off those crazy numbers? Well, it all comes down to the highly unconventional philosophy of their late CEO, Tony Hsieh. He completely flipped the script on customer service. Most companies view customer service as this annoying expense, right? Just a place to cut costs and squeeze out efficiency. Hsieh viewed it completely differently. He saw customer service not as a cost-saving measure, but purely as a metric of customer happiness. Every single extra minute or extra dollar spent making sure a customer leaves an interaction completely thrilled, he viewed that as a direct deposit into the future business bank account. That level of fanatical care becomes your ultimate competitive moat. And honestly, that beautifully wraps up our entire journey today. We've seen the massive trillion-dollar scale of the e-commerce opportunity, how to build a highly targeted niche product, the undeniable power of a brand story, why you absolutely need a pre-launch audience, and the incredible ROI of treating your customers like absolute royalty. Yes, it's a challenging path for sure, but it's also incredibly scalable and deeply rewarding. So I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. What unique differentiating factor are you going to bring to your new e-commerce venture? Think about your specific niche, dig deep into your story, and go take that entrepreneurial leap. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.